Hello, fellow Araxians. Well, guys, Daybreak Games finally broke their silence around Planetside Arena, and it was to push the launch date. Here's the new schedule. The closed beta starts on January 30th. People that have pre-ordered the game will have access on that date. You can sign up for the closed beta on their website, but access is not guaranteed unless you have pre-ordered. On February 20th, a Founders Season starts, and then the new official launch date is March 26th. The general consensus is, this is awesome, and I agree. It's pretty hilarious at this point. There's so much fatigue in the gaming community from all of these crappy early access games that just sort of limped over the finish line. I wouldn't even call it the finish line. They limped over the halfway mark. And then since they weren't really funded properly, it's sort of make or break. Does early access work? If it does, then maybe they get to finish the game. If they don't, then the studios just wrap up and close down. And everyone that tried to buy in that game to support it is just sort of hosed, and their dollars are lost. What you see here is Islands of Nine, that is one of those games. Their early access didn't go quite well enough, and rather than keep going, they just had to shut down the studio. And while Daybreak Games didn't have to do the full-on shutdown, they kind of had the same experience with EverQuest Next, where a whole bunch of people bought into EQ Landmark, and nothing ever came from their early access purchase. At this point, people would rather see games delayed so they can actually get a somewhat finished product than something that's going to be rushed out the door to justifiably negative reviews, and then what otherwise might have been a good game ends up crashing and burning because it had a poor launch. Now, I am in the same boat as most people. I agree that a delay was great. In fact, I was surprised that we had so little promotion of the game, yet they hadn't announced a delay yet. I thought that meant that they were just forging ahead with the launch, deaf to the community's concerns about the lack of communication leading up to the launch, and the lack of an extended beta testing process that a lot of people pre-ordered the game in order to be part of. So let's break it down on what this means for Planetside Arena. The most important part of this announcement is that if you did pre-order the game, you still get to play it on basically the day they announced that you could. And they were very close to seriously disappointing a lot of people that had pre-ordered the game expecting to get plenty of time in beta testing phase. If you have pre-ordered, you are now guaranteed access to the closed beta testing phase that begins on January 30th. To ensure you receive all communications associated with this process, please go to their website. In the upper right of their screen, there is a button for beta sign up. Although you are probably already opted into communication, just in case, make sure you give them your email so you receive all relevant communication. By doing it this way, Daybreak Games is making good to the people that pre-ordered. It was looking like they were just going to get 2 days of a server stress test type of beta testing prior to launch, which really made the pre-order package pretty disappointing. Now, I'm not sure if the servers are going to be up for the 20 days prior to the Founders Season launch, but if so, those pre-order people are going to get a lot more bang for their buck in their purchase. I think they're going to make a lot more happy customers doing it that way. Next, on February 20th, the Founders Season begins. What I think is key about this season is it's a gauge if the game can have a paywall. So it's not a full-on launch. If the numbers aren't awesome, it's still okay, because it's just a unique Founders Season. People can't pronounce the game dead yet if there's only 2,000 concurrent users. And that's when they can really watch their sales and see how many pre-orders did we get. Is the game good enough that it builds hype so we get more pre-orders from people that want to make it into the Founders Season? And if it does well enough, then they keep the price tag on the game. But if it doesn't do well enough, then they can say, oh hey guys, we're launching free to play. People that already paid got access to the beta and the Founders Only Season, so we have them covered. They got something for their money. We know we need a better population at launch, time to go free to play. Or if the game's been doing really well, they keep the price tag on the game for launch, and then they advertise with how many millions of people joined the Founders Season. Or if it's not people, then they talk in millions of hours played. Whatever number they can find, they can talk in terms of millions. Because then it sounds really big. What I'm hoping this also means is that the NDA is going to be lifted before the pre-order packages go away, before the Founder Season starts. That way I can get in there and let you guys know, what is this? What is it about? And then people are actually able to see some footage, see people playing it, and make a decision, is this worth spending money on? If you just go right to the launch and people haven't had the time to make that decision, then they already feel sort of behind. There's not enough there for me to sort of pay now and then start behind everyone else anyways. Maybe I'll wait for a different season in the future, and by then everyone will have forgotten about the game anyways. But the moment I can review it, I will post that information here. I want to speculate for the moment on why they decided to rearrange the game launch like this. It may be simply because they're far behind and they need the extra time. But the fact that they are going to actually do a closed beta for everyone that's pre-ordered on the 30th means that they've got something ready enough to go. So I think it's much more likely that they've been watching the community and seeing a lot of the feedback and where players' concerns are, that they decided to restructure the launch. So major props to all those people that have spoke up and added to the discussion on what they expected to see from the next iteration of Planetside, and why they were so concerned about the lack of information they've seen on Arena so far. One of the big concerns that came up was the amount of people that could queue for Massive Clash. Now this is a generally sensitive topic. Communities will be made or broken based on what they decide here. One of the things I have always loved about Planetside is the convenience of being able to stretch your group from 6 players to 18 players to 23 players to 35 players to 48 players as your night goes on. I used to lead World of Warcraft raids, and it was a major ordeal getting everyone there on time, getting the right classes there. If your one Dissy priest that had the legendary bubble staff didn't show up that night, you were basically hosed for progression. With Planetside, if you only get a few people in that night, you just do kind of smaller squad ops. And if everyone's really excited and 3 squads show up, then you can just go find bigger fights. I think it's one of the most underappreciated aspects of Planetside that you're not stuck in a 45-minute League of Legends match, that there can be repercussions to your account if you need to leave all of a sudden, and then if any of your friends hop on, they can immediately jump into the action with you without having to wait for another match. So how Massive Clash handles outfits and communities in general is going to be make or break, not just for that mode, but probably for the game. Again, the Massive Clash is what's going to make this game stand out. The Battle Royale is just something that will have fleeting popularity and then yield to the giants of PUBG and Fortnite. By doing a serious closed beta test that brings in all of the pre-orders, not just small closed testing with a few members of the community, then they can really get down to testing this Massive Clash thing. And if they can test it, draw some functional conclusions on how do we handle outfits queuing together. We know we need to let the communities play together, but if we put 48 of them in, and the other team does not have such a big coordinated force, the matches end up being extremely lopsided. How do we manage that? Maybe that means we have to let the matchmaking go on a little bit longer, so opposed to that big team of 48 players, we can at least get 4 squads of 12 that queue together, so we know that we have some coordination. And then the rest of the match can get filled in with 2s and 3s and singles. So we'll see how that goes down. I think it's going to be pretty difficult to land on a good system, but I also think it's make or break for the game. So hopefully they take that game mode extremely seriously so they can get it done right. Because if it's just Planetside 2 Battle Flow all over again, not much to say, but dead game. And then before I go, I just want to give you a quick rundown of what to expect from Planetside Arena. All the information is pretty disjointed, but we actually already know a lot. And the easiest format to really catch up on all the information with sources is an excellent Reddit thread by SpecEye. And I'm going to link to that down in the description. You know what Battle Royale is, and you've already heard about the classes, Assault, Medic, and Engineer. Planetside Arena will be season-based. Each season you will work to unlock blueprints. Prior to each match, you will pick 3 blueprints to equip. During the match, you can still pick up gear and weapons, but you will also find nanites in the game so you can, air quotes here, craft the blueprints that you equip prior to the match. In this manner, Planetside Arena sets itself apart from PUBG or Fortnite, because in PUBG, say you like to play with a Kar 98, you're at the mercy of the weapon spawns where you land if there's a specific weapon you like to play. Whereas with Planetside Arena, you are guaranteed to be able to craft that weapon as long as you find enough nanites. Everything else outside of that is pretty standard Battle Royale fare. I'm curious though if that's how they're going to handle the Massive Clash mode as well. Do you have to equip a blueprint to go print a Vanguard if you want to be a tank driver in Massive Clash? That one I don't know, and it'll be interesting to see. Okay, fellow Araxians, that's the rundown for now. Looks like it'll be a little longer before I see you arena side. But until next time, I will see you planetside.